Hello, welcome to lesson on clause 6 of the ISO 21001 standards. This lesson explains with examples the requirements to fulfill the clause 6 on planning. Let's look at meaning of some relevant terms in context of ISO 21001. So what is planning? Planning is the process of conceptualizing the activities required to achieve a desired goal. Planning addresses the possible risks through adequate control measures. Risk-based thinking is included throughout the standard and is recommended to be followed in planning. A proactive approach to handling risks is considered far superior to taking remedial actions when the issue or event has already occurred. Quality objectives are measurable goals and targets established for the value of services or products relevant to enhance the customer satisfaction and should be consistent with the organization's quality policy. The clauses under the planning. There are three sub-clauses under clause 6 of planning. These are 6.1 planning actions to address risks and opportunities, 6.2 planning to achieve the established educational organizational objectives, and 6.3 planning of changes to the EOMS, that is Educational Organization Management System. Let's come to 6.1 plan for risks and opportunities. 6.1 is on planning actions to address risk and opportunities and integrate it to the EOMS operations. This is further broken down into two subclauses. 6.1.1 is to determine the risk and opportunities. 6.1.2 is to plan actions for the risks and integrate to EOMS. 6.1.1 requires the organization to consider the context, that is the clause 4.1 of the organization, and the requirements of 4.2, which is to determine the interested parties' needs and expectations. 1.2 requires the organization to plan actions to address the determined risks and opportunities and also integrate the actions to the working of the organization. Elaborating on 6.1.1, which is to determine the risk and opportunity, shortened to R and O. 1.1 requires the organization to consider the context 4.1 of the organization and the requirements 4.2 in determining the interested parties' needs and expectations, and clause 4.4, which is on the implementation and monitoring of EOMS. The above information is used and considered to determine the risks and opportunities for the organization. The above requirement will also assure that the EOMS can achieve its objectives and intended outcomes, enhance desirable effects, prevent, mitigate or reduce undesirable effects, and lead to achieving continual improvement. The requirement on 6.1.2 is on planning and integrating the actions. To address the identified risks and opportunities should be planned. Plan of action should be integrated to the EOMS and not be standing alone. It should be part of the EOMS. As for any EOMS processes, the effectiveness of these actions should be evaluated. Actions taken to address, manage or mitigate the identified risks and opportunities should be proportionate to the probability of the occurrence and the impact it can have on the organization's objectives, products or services. There are various strategies and schools of thoughts on managing risk. The ISO standards provide a note on managing risk. The Harvard Business School Review categorizes risk as preventable, strategic and external. They require different management and is influenced by the organization and its context. Risk can be avoided or can be considered as a strategic one leading to an opportunity by eliminating the risk source or changing the course or the likelihood on the outcome of the identified risk, or it can be like sharing the risk or retaining the risk. The opportunities can lead to new practices, products, services, markets and learners. International collaboration and partnership can open up the market in different countries. Check the quiz related to 6.1 by scanning the code. The clause on planning to achieve educational organization objectives has two subclauses. The 6.2.1, the requirement is to set the educational organization objectives, while 6.2.2 is the establishment of a strategic plan to achieve the educational organization objectives. The clause 6.2.1 focuses on the establishment of the educational organization objectives. Objectives is set at various functions, levels, and processes. The setting of objectives sets the stone for the achievement and its processes at relevant levels. The objectives should satisfy few features, should be consistent with the education organization policy, be measurable, and take into account applicable requirements whether at institutional or regulatory levels, and be relevant so as to conform to the products and services delivered by the educational organization for the enhancement of the learners and the beneficiaries, be continually monitored, communicated, and updated. The educational organization EO should have relevant documents on the objectives and status of their achievement. As for 6.2.2, the strategic plan is viewed as a plan to achieve the educational organization objectives. The strategic plan should be outlined and available as a document. Strategic plan should detail what will be done to achieve the objectives, what resources are needed, and how will it be allocated, who will hold the primary responsibility to the achievement, when is the time frame for it to be completed or achieved, and how will it be evaluated. Here, check the quiz related to 6.2.2 by scanning the code. The 6.3 outlines the requirements when changes to EOMS might be warranted. EOMS should be done in a planned manner by the educational organization when the need is determined by the educational organization. The plan should also consider the purpose of change and its justification, how the integrity of the EOMS will be maintained or affected, what are the internal resources required and how it will be allocated, and who will hold the responsibility and authority for the changes, and the availability and requirement for external providers to help in the change. Thank you. Our next lesson will be on clause 7, that is support.